Hi, everybody, and welcome once again to Ivy English. I'm Karen.
And I'm Wesley.
Today is October 27th, and we're on page 72 in your magazines. And that's backwards, so it's the 27th. We're on page 72. Makes it easy to remember. Today we have a rather short and not too difficult new TOEIC lesson for you.
好，今天我们有一个新多益情境试题攻略。
And I learned a new initialism from this article.
那 Karen 老师跟我也是第一次看到一个算是字首语啊，那比较正确的翻译啊，或者比较正确的名称是投字语啊。但是因为我小时候我记得我第一次学的时候就是教它就字首语，所以我讲习惯了哈。不过各位要知道，这个正确的说法是投字语。
There we go.
Yeah.
I knew you were thinking to find the perfect word, and that's it.
Yeah.
We call it an initialism in English. Initial, you know, like if you just write the first letter of each of your names, then it's your initials. Like my initials are KSC. Karen, Stephen, Joan, KSC. Those are my initials. But if they are the first letters of a phrase or an expression or the name of a company or the name of something, we call that an initialism. And Wesley just gave you a Chinese translation for it. We have another word for something similar that works slightly differently, and that's called acronym. Acronym means if the words spell an actual word, you can read it as a word. So, for example, if it is Society for Wildlife and Nature, Society for Wildlife and Nature, what does that spell?
那拼起来就是 SWAN.
Which spells?
Swan.
Which is?
Yeah, 就是天鹅。
That's right. And that will make you think of wildlife and nature.
Yeah.
So that's a very, very clever acronym. 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 Acronym means that you take the first letter of each word, or sometimes you can skip a word, especially 虚词, and it forms a word that you can actually pronounce, and it often has meaning as well. So Society for Wildlife and Nature, SWAN, that one is pretty clever.
Yeah. 好，所以 acronym 呢，就是也是字首的缩写啊，这个字首语啊，但是 acronym 是可以念得出来的啊，它可以变成好像看起来像是个字，你可以把它发音呀。
There's another one. It's called Mothers Against Drunk Driving. What does that spell?
好，那这个 Mothers Against Drunk Driving, MADD.
And that spells?
Mad.
With an extra D.
Yeah.
And why are they mad? Because many of them are mothers who lost a child because they were hit by a drunk driver.
所以这是另外一个 acronym. 好，那这个念起来好像是很生气的那个字 mad.
And they are really angry.
而且他们真的是很生气 Yeah.
Okay, so those are examples of acronyms. But here in this article or this passage, it's not really an article, we have an initialism. That means a couple of letters put together. Each one represents one word and an expression. I had to look on the internet to find out what it was. So I don't know about other native speakers, but I had never heard of it.
好，所以这里面有一个就是其实就我们等一下会看到 CBD 好，那其实我第一次看到这样的这个用法，那 Karen 老师也是第一次，那我们要上网去找一下，大概才知道它是指什么。
Okay, we'll get to it very soon. Let's read our instructions first. Part 7, Reading Comprehension, Directions. In this part, you will read a selection of texts, such as magazine and newspaper articles, letters, and advertisements. Each text is followed by several questions. Select the best answer for each question and mark the letter A, B, C, or D on your answer sheet. Questions 1 to 2 refer to the following news report.
好，那这个地方指示我们看到说这一部分呢，你会读到 a selection of texts 啊，那例如说 magazine 或者是这个newspaper articles， 那也可能读到 letters， 可能读到都杂志报纸的文章，也可能读到信。或者是广告advertisements， 那每一个 text 后面都有 followed by， 都有几个问题，那要你选 the best answer 最好的一个答案每一个问题最好的答案选出来，然后呢你要 mark the letter 标示这个字母，看是 A, B 还是 C 还是 D 在你的 answer sheet 上面。
And our category here is reading comprehension.
好，那我们这个题目是属于阅读测验reading comprehension。 那接下来告诉你说底下这两个问题 refer to 就是指向就是跟什么有关呢？跟我们底下这个是个 news report 有关。
Okay, I'm going to read through the whole piece and then we'll go back over it sentence by sentence and then we have 2 questions to answer. Our title is Donuts Anger Commuters. Traffic in the CBD was in gridlock yesterday because of the Donut Delight Superstore opening. A company spokesperson explained that more than 5,000 customers purchased around 50,000 donuts in the first 12 hours of trade, primarily purchasing the opening day special, a dozen donuts for 10 cents. Hundreds of cars lined up along Main Street as they attempted to enter the store's express drive-thru. When peak hour arrived, additional police were dispatched to control clogged intersections and keep an eye on the crowd. Nina Colombo from the Transport Department urged commuters to relax and take it easy. She went on to say, "We don't want any casualties for the sake of a dozen cheap donuts." Now that's putting things in perspective. We'll talk about that later. Let's go back to the beginning. First of all, our title, which tells us a lot about what to expect from the article. So pay attention to titles. You can get a lot of information from them. Our title is Donuts Anger Commuters.
这个 anger 在这里是动词啊，就是 to make somebody angry 的意思。所以这个标题英文的意思是这个 donuts 甜甜圈让 commuters 让一些通勤上班的人生气了。所以我们的中文标题是甜甜圈惹怒通勤族。
Okay, traffic in the CBD was in gridlock yesterday because of the Donut Delight Superstore opening. There's a lot of good expressions here. Now, first of all, CBD, it stands for Central Business District.
好，所以呢，这个the CBD 就是我们刚刚一开始谈到的啊，那它是 Central Business District 的一个缩写啊，中心商业区。Yeah.
And when I see that in English, the first thing I think of is Hong Kong because they have an area called Zhonghuan, which they call Central, Hong Kong Central.
所以这个让 Karen 老师想到香港的中环啊。好，所以我想它基本上的意思就是这个市中心的那个商业区啊。那里的交通 was in gridlock gridlock 就是这个打结了，所以交通打结了。那这个通常英文里面常常会讲到这个，例如说你在这个车阵之中被困在车阵当中，你可以说 we were caught in a gridlock.
That's right. Or traffic was gridlocked. You can also use it as a verb. Traffic was gridlocked.
好，那这个交通打结了啊，再加个 ed 啊，那都可以，所以这个是还蛮好用的。所以昨天
I was going to say that in Taiwan you usually use the expression traffic jam.
Yeah.
Now, we do use this, but a traffic jam is usually very localized. That means in one particular place, a whole bunch of cars were all stuck in one place and couldn't move. And that happened to me yesterday as I was driving to campus because it was a place where traffic is usually not so slow, but there was a long line of cars. Nobody was moving, and I couldn't figure out what was going on because I had a final exam to go to. And then I'm just sitting in traffic, but I tried not to get impatient. When we finally moved, I found the reason, and I bet you can guess what it was.
Well, what was it?
It was a traffic accident. And it was somebody on a motorcycle. It looked like a middle-aged man, and he was still alive. But he looked very dazed, like, oh, my God, what just happened? And the traffic was backed up for quite a distance.
所以 traffic jam 通常是比较小范围一点，而且通常是一个东西把交通堵住那种感觉。
很集中
Yeah.
So I was in a traffic jam at that point, and there was a very good reason for it. But when we say there was... we experienced gridlock or traffic was gridlocked, that means for a very long stretch, nobody is moving.
好，但是如果我们用 gridlock 这个字的话，感觉起来就是很多车都塞住了啊，所以就是我们中文讲那种交通打结动不了那种感觉。
Yeah, 也范围蛮广的。
范围很广。
Yeah.
好，所以呢，这个地方他讲这个市区，他昨天交通都大塞车了啊？为什么呢？因为这个 Donut Delight 这个叫甜甜圈之乐我的快乐甜甜圈这样的一个这个 Superstore 一个超级商店，它的 opening 它的开幕所以大塞车了。
Okay, some quick advice. don't eat donuts. They're very bad for you.
Yeah, 不健康.
Right.
Yeah.
Full of sugar and starch. You don't need it. All right. The next sentence, a company spokesperson explained that more than 5,000 customers purchased around 50,000 donuts in the first 12 hours of trade, primarily purchasing the opening day special, a dozen donuts for 10 cents. 贪小便宜
Yeah, 贪小便宜啊。那有一个公司的发言人啊 ，a company spokesperson explained that 他解释为什么会塞住呢？他说，因为有超过5000名的顾客 customers purchased 购买 around 大约5万个 donuts 啊，而且这在很短的时间，是在这个 in the first 12 hours of trade 啊，这个 trade 就是交易或者营业，所以他们营业一开始12个小时之内就卖出了5万个这个 donuts 啊，然后有5000位这个消费者过来。那 primarily 就是 for the most part, mainly 主要是 purchasing 就指这些顾客主要是来买什么呢？主要是来买啊 the opening day special 就是开幕日的特卖商品。那这个是什么东西呢？我们有一个 dash 继续说明，它就是a dozen donuts 12个甜甜圈 for后面接价钱，12个甜甜圈只需要10 cents， 只要是个10分啊，就是10美分的这样的这个价钱。
Be really careful about being manipulated by people trying to sell you something, because they can make you just go completely blind as to all of the risks involved, all of the potential wasted time involved for something that's not good for you in the first place. All you think is, oh my gosh, what a deal, I have to go. And you forget about all the other things, like, actually, I shouldn't be eating so much sugar. You forget about all of that just because it looks like such a good deal, I can't miss it. Be careful about that.
要小心啊，这个商家的促销活动，因为你可能因为哎呀很便宜，你就买了一大堆你不需要用或者用不到的东西啊。那前一阵子啊，我看到一个广告，它就是咖啡买100杯，好，可以给你打多少折？我在想说，他说100杯可以寄杯，那我就想，我要先买个100杯寄在某一个店，然后我要去100次，然后才能把它喝完啊。但是它那个价钱听起来，好棒哦，这个不知道打几折哈，好像3折还几折的。但是其实，对你想一想就觉得还是那个其实不是你需要的。Yeah.
And even better, make your own coffee at home.
Yeah, 那在自己家里面做咖啡多好。
Yeah.Okay, so really watch out for that, because if you study marketing, you're going to find out all the crazy things that people with something to sell get us to do, and you may want to not do those things if you think about it more. Next sentence, hundreds of cars lined up along Main Street as they attempted to enter the store's express drive-through. Now, drive-through has been translated in a very cute way in Chinese, 得来速.
Yeah.
And I have students who did not know that it came from English. That means the Chinese must be very good.
Yeah, 得来速 Yeah, 得来很快速 Yeah. 好，那这个地方讲到 hundreds of cars 数百辆车 lined up 就排成一列 along 沿着 Main Street 就是这个主要的街道大街了也可以是这个街道的名称。那 as they 当他们在 attempted to 他们试着尝试要 enter 要进入 the stores 要进入这个商店的 express drive-through 就是快捷的得来速车道express 在这里是快捷的意思它的英文意思就是 operating at high speed 的意思，那就是 express 然后他们希望能够挤进这个快捷的得来速车道，但是也没有办法多快捷，因为人太多了。
And we often use the expressway when we go home by car, right?
Yeah, 快速道路。
Exactly. That's an expressway. That's a good expression to know. Next sentence. When peak hour arrived, additional police were dispatched to control clogged intersections and keep an eye on the crowd. This is interesting because I've just read a really interesting article written by a former policeman talking about the things that they really do as policemen. Now, there have been calls to defund the police in the States. Because, in fact, the things that the police do, a lot of them have nothing to do with solving crimes. A lot of them have to do with directing traffic, crowd control, and also being a family counselor. And they're not trained for that. So a lot of the things that the police really do have nothing to do with being a policeman. So the reason people have been asking or saying that we should defund the police is because we could find people who are better trained to be family counselors, or they can just direct traffic. They don't have to be policemen with a gun to direct traffic.
所以这个 Karen 老师他读到一个文章说，这个大概是在指美国了哈，
而且是那个退休的警员。
对，美国一个退休警员讲说，他在警察生涯里面呢，其实真正这个对抗犯罪的机会不是那么多，他们大部分做的事情就是指挥交通这个管制人群还有一个就是解决家庭纠纷因为可能这个家庭里面夫妻吵架或怎么样的，那就会有人打电话报警，那他们就来，那变得要处理家庭纠纷。所以美国现在有一个声音，就是他们认为我们不需要这么多警察，因为警察做的很多事情其实你可以有更专业的人来做，你可能有那种专业的交通疏导人员，那尤其是解决家庭纠纷，你应该有受过这种训练的专业人员来解决，而不是说带个枪的警察跑去来解决人家家庭纠纷。
And he was saying that the American police are highly militarized. So someone recently mentioned to me that they even have a rocket launcher. Why would domestic police have a rocket launcher?
Yeah, 那而且美国的警察他们这个装备非常的军事化，他们训练也相当军事化。那甚至有人讲说他们居然有那个火箭筒你会想说这个一个警察干嘛需要这个火箭筒这个专门去打人家战车或者碉堡的那火箭筒呢所以这个也是另外一个很有趣的一个趋势了。Yeah.
So we're going to probably see a lot of changes coming up soon.
Yeah. 好，所以这个地方讲到说，当这个 peak hour 就是尖峰时间那注意这个 peak hour 那个 hour 没有 s peak hour 那就好像 rush hour 一样没有 s 或者 happy hour都没有 s 的那 happy hour 就是酒店里面那个这一个价钱比较特别便宜的一个时段
Or maybe 啤酒屋 or any kind of bar, yeah.
所以 when peak hour 就是尖峰塞得最厉害的时候 arrived 到达了，也就是塞得最厉害的时候，中文可以这样讲，塞得最厉害的时候，那英文呢它会可以用这样的表达方法，当这个尖峰时刻到达的时候那 additional额外的 police 警方人员呢 were dispatched dispatched 就是派遣所以他们所以因为塞得太厉害了，所以他们派出了更多的警员来 control 来管控 clogged intersections。 好 clog 在这里就塞住的意思，常常我们讲到 clog 就是这个水槽 sink会 clog， 那可能是有这个
Or the drain. I have a clogged drain.
drain 这个排水口那这个会 clog。 那 traffic 也可以 clog 所以就是塞住的意思，所以他们来管制这个塞住的 intersections， 这些塞住的这个交通十字路口。然后呢 keep an eye on 就是这个 watch 注意还有 take care of 注意这个观察这个 crowd， 注意这个 crowd，让他们希望这 crowd 不要这个out of control， 或者是不要出什么问题。Yeah.
Because wherever you have a lot of people gathered, if some trouble starts, it spreads very quickly and it can easily become violent.
Yeah, 因为人多大家可能火气都很大，很容易就出现什么问题所以他们就在那里注意这些民众的情况，叫做 keep an eye on the crowd。Right.
And instead of saying additional police, we can say that the police sent in reinforcements.
那就是这个援兵reinforcements 他们这个警方派来的增援的警力。
REINFORCEMENT plus S. REINFORCEMENT plus S, reinforcements. They had to send in reinforcements in order to keep the crowd under control. Our next sentence, Nina Colombo from the Transport Department urged commuters to relax and take it easy.
然后呢，我们看到这个Nina Colombo， 她哪里来的呢？她是来自于 the Transport Department 这个交通部交通局交通因为是市嘛，所以交通局，所以交通局的官员Nina 她 urged 就是敦促力劝那这个她敦促这些 commuters 这些通勤的人呢要 relax 你要放轻松。那 take it easy 就是不要着急那不要急，就是 take it easy 这个有一首很有名的英文歌曲叫做 take it easy。
Right. Okay, we have a lot of pop songs in our head. Whenever we see a phrase from a pop song, it kind of starts playing in our head.
Yeah.
Did you notice Wesley's translations for urged? I thought they were very good.
敦促 yeah.
And?
力劝.
Yeah,
Yeah.
both of them are really good for urged in this situation, in this context. Okay, the last sentence of this article, she went on to say, we don't want any casualties for the sake of a dozen cheap donuts. Now, earlier in the lesson, I said this really puts things in perspective. If you are going to put your life in danger because of 10-cent donuts, you probably have to think it over again carefully.
好，所以呢 put things in perspective 就是让你用比较全面性的角度来看这件事情啊，就不会说把事情看偏了。
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
所以这个地方呢，就是他这里告诉你说，我们不要任何的 casualties， 就是受伤或者死亡的人，我们不要有人受伤甚至死亡。For the sake of， 为的是一打很便宜的 donuts， 因为那就得不偿失了嘛，那就是 donuts 而已。
得不偿失 that's perfect here.
Yeah, 那事实上，像碰到这种事情，如果是我绝对不会去排队啊，因为我觉得事实上我现在不管注意吃饭或怎么样，如果看到有人排队，我就不吃了，我就换一家。我觉得没有一个东西会好吃到你一定要去那里花一大堆时间排到。不过当然我有一个朋友，他很喜欢排啊，他说乐趣就在排队。
Some people just enjoy the activity of standing in line.
Yeah, 所以我觉得 OK， 那我了解。但是我觉得如果像这个排这么长，那也许你就可以考虑，那我就不要吃了，因为它就是省几块钱，就买几个便宜的这个甜甜圈而已。
If you really want to eat a donut, just go buy one. I mean, most of us are not so poor that we can't afford a donut or two if you really want it. Why do you have to get the feeling of, oh, I got a good deal?
Yeah, 所以这个一些生活的小智慧啦，就是有的时候可能要看开一点哈，不需要为了省一点点小钱，浪费一大堆时间去做一些没有太大意义，例如说排队的事情啊，除非你很喜欢排队。
And that's not very healthy besides. Let's go to our two questions. Number one, according to the news report, what happened yesterday?
所以根据这一则新闻报道，昨天发生了什么事呢？
A new store opened.
A 有一家新店开幕了。
That's our answer. We could quit here, but we'll read the other choices. B, a train had an accident.
B 有一起火车事故。
There was no mention of a train, and they said that an accident might happen if people aren't careful, but there was no actual accident mentioned here. So that's wrong. C, a group of people went on strike.
有一群人罢工。
Also not mentioned. D, a business released a new product.
有一间企业发布了新产品。
Product wasn't really new. They just gave you a special price. So our answer is A, a new store opened. Number two, what did Nina Colombo request?
所以这个妮娜可伦波她要求什么呢？
All right, so she's a representative of the transport department, so she's probably going to try to talk some sense into these people. A dozen cheap donuts.
A 她要一打便宜的甜甜圈。
She's advising you to think twice about standing in line for those cheap donuts. B, a report on the number of casualties.
B 一份伤亡数字的报告。
Fortunately, no casualties are mentioned in this report. C, patience from commuters.
C 通勤族的耐心。
And that is the correct answer. She wants people to not be in a hurry and to keep their feelings under control.
Yeah, 这是正确答案，因为她要求大家要有耐心。
Right. And D, permission to send the police.
D 调派警力的许可。
Now, so she didn't ask for that. She just said, everybody just kind of take it easy. Calm down. So the answer is C, patience from commuters. That's it for today. Tune in next time. We'll